which is COVID impact on leasehold. So this is from Tom of Oxford. And Tom says, Aloha, do you think the double whammy of COVID 19, like no tourists since March and high unemployment on the mainland, will have an impact on leasehold condo sales? Especially for people who may be over leveraged, like the VRBO folks. They've now faced a significant monthly nut, like a high homeowners fees, insurance, taxes, and rent, and possibly a mortgage. I've been watching leasehold condos on Kauai, and there's a lot of inventory. Like, for example, there's over 20 units in one complex in Poipu. The 20 units in Poipu have their leasehold fee reset in 2021, and I suspect are trying to bail out now. I've seen condos dropping 5K, 10K, 25K at a clip, including asking prices below what they paid. Mahalo, what do you think? So, Scott, how do you respond to Tom? I mean, obviously, what Tom's talking about it, right? The whole VRBO thing. What's going to happen with where do you see the market going with these over leveraged VRBO properties? And there's another twist over here about lease. So maybe kind of let's hit this in sort of a two-part question. Let's first hit what do you think is going to happen with the market on these over leveraged VRBO properties that no longer have cash flow? Let's hit that one first, and then let's talk about this thing with the lease expiring in 2021.
Yeah, so the first part of that over-leveraged VRBO market, absolutely. I mean, if people don't have any income coming in and they have carrying costs, it will affect them. However, the big difference, and Dylan hit on this on our previous show, which was really important, is to get a loan now versus when you got a loan prior to the 2008 crash. The banks are much more stringent in their loan guidelines now and have been for this whole period since 2009, 2010. And people have had to put significantly more money down. In fact, there's some vacation rental units where you have to put 50% cash down to be able to get a loan. So automatically that gives you not only enough skin in the game, but reduces that monthly obligation or those carrying costs significantly. Will COVID have an effect when you don't have any rental income coming in? Absolutely. There's going to be some of those. But I do think it will take a little more time to play out than it would have in like 2008, simply because of how loan guidelines were set up. We've been on this market run. You can put them on the market now and still sell them and probably not have to go into foreclosure. But yeah, I do think it'll have an effect.
So great. So there is going to be, again, we can't say how there won't be an effect, right? I mean, I think this thing is it's kind of inevitable. So that's that. Now, this other one about this lease expiring. Now, we don't want to go down this sort of rabbit hole of leasehold. I've got a couple of links, and I'd be happy to share them with anybody if you have any questions on what leasehold properties are. But there's a lease is going to expire in 2021. So today's 2020. Why do you think, Scott, can you explain why prices seem to be dropping very quickly for these units in Poipu? Maybe not specifically Poipu, but why would prices be dropping so quickly if there's a lease that's going to be renegotiated next year?
Yeah, so I love this question actually, because this is good about leasehold. And I would tell everyone, you've got 3 great videos about leasehold on your website. So check those out. That gives you a good background on it. But I don't see COVID as being the big driver for this decision on the leasehold dumping of properties, so to speak. What you have is leasehold properties aren't as stable. There's a fear of the unknown that comes with leasehold, because at the end of a leasehold, at the end of the lease, say in 6 years, there's a reversionary clause in those that the landowner can take the units back from the owner. So you're effectively walking away from it. So with a renegotiation period coming up, if you have a lease rent of, say, $200 right now in any year, you don't know what that lease rent amount is going to be. It's going to be renegotiated between the unit owners and the landowner. Why do you want to buy in that? That you really have to entice someone to buy in that, especially with a 6-year lease left on it, on that property. That's not a very desirable property. So yeah, you're going to have to discount your price to move that property for someone else to buy it. Add on top of it, if it's in a transient, VRBO location where that's what you're doing out of it, and you just lost the income. Okay, now you definitely don't have a reason to buy it.
You've got a double whammy now, right?
Yeah.
You got the insecurity of the VRBO piece going on. You know when the market's going to open up. Plus, you have this lease, and you don't know what the lease rent is going to be
Yep.
going after this. One thing I mentioned in one of the videos is, if the last time the lease was negotiated was 20 years ago, you've got 20 years of pricing that's going to be built into this next lease payment, and you might have a skyrocketing lease. You have no idea what's going on. So that's why the prices are plummeting
And,
15, 20K at a time.
totally. And think about who owns all the cards in that negotiation, the landowner. You're obligated to pay the lease rent, right? And you don't really have a whole lot of leverage in a negotiation in that portion. Now, they got a way that they do these things and massage the owners and the landowner through that negotiation, so it doesn't get it. There is a cap on what they can do, but you're not sitting in a good position. And with these types of properties, once you get it below about 20 years left on that lease, you can't get financing. You're paying cash at that point. So you're buying into something that's diminishing in value until there's no years left on that lease. Where I see that, Kahala Beach Apartments, I get a lot of people calling me. Kahala Beach Apartments is leasehold on the ocean with like 6 years left on the lease. They're like 200,000. So they're very appealing. People go, hey, what's up with this? The buyers that we see buying in that are significantly older in their years, that have a significant amount of wealth, that are willing to buy in there and live and enjoy the lifestyle and don't care about what happens to that property at the end of the lease.